guys, and welcome back to another episode of Candid, where we have real talks with real people. I'm your host, Shanae, and today we are here with Bethany, who ditched us for like 2 weeks. Bethany left us, but she's back. Hi, Bethany. How are you doing today?
Hi, Shanae. I am living. And thanks, Bob. I don't think everyone even noticed I was gone. I'm sure you and Dudley did a wonderful job while I was away.
So today we're doing something similar to last week. We're just going to be going through things that happened this week. So the first thing that I found interesting, simply because I think it was on the agenda for, I think it was the FNM's agenda to legalize marijuana, if I'm not mistaken. Legalize it, decriminalize it, whatever they want, whatever the terminology was. But today, $200,000 worth of a marijuana field worth $200,000 was discovered in Western New Providence. Now, I found this so interesting because like these plants big, like how nobody find this, like why it takes so long, but more than 245 plants were so.
Them boys look like they were sitting out there for a while,
right? And they said they have no arrest and they don't know like who was doing this. So I trying to figure out like these, at least I think this is the picture that they take. I don't know if it's the same picture or it's just like a stock photo. But like 245 plants that we just overlook, like, and in New Providence at that, like I would think something like this would happen on an island. But I feel like New Providence swarming with people and police, like it's so hard. So, but I guess it ain't hard. Yeah.
But honestly, when I saw the photo, I think Eyewitness News had a photo of just a bunch of marijuana plants. When I saw it and I saw the story, the headliner, I was like, oh, this must be like an Andres or something.
Yeah.
And so when I read it was hair, I'm like, oh, what? Like, where is their space in Nassau to even do all of this?
That's what I was
saying.
Yeah.
This is why land registry is so important as well, because even that would have given some sort of accountability to someone, either to say, hey, you need to pay better attention to your property because illegal activity is happening here, or they would have had at least some link to find out who it is planting these things. I guess they're getting ready for the decriminalization and they want to start their business early.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting because I really went this, like you said, initial reaction was a thing that this was on like Andres or something. That was my initial thoughts too. But when I saw New Providence, I was like, wow, this is crazy. But there was a lot of mixed reactions on social media. And I saw someone commented and they was like, don't get rid of it. But they made a suggestion to donate it to an island, well, a country that has marijuana legalized. And I actually think that's kind of a good idea because I feel like, I mean, I know with these people who were planting these things, they were doing it illegally, but that's so much work just gone to waste. And the marijuana can be used for so many things like fabric and all type of things it could be used for. So I don't feel like it should be burnt down or anything. I feel like donating it to another country or even selling it to make some revenue would be a really good idea. I don't know how
yeah, but if they sell it, it would set a bad precedent to drug dealers. It's like we doing drugs, we dealing our own drugs, because currently it is still illegal in the country, especially that amount. So for us to actually go on and sell it off to, even if it's legal in another country, it's not legal here. So that precedent they set is going to kind of haunt them in the long run. So that issue is kind of complex when you actually look at it, because then the government would be no better than the gangsters selling it on the street, except probably the government, didn't kill anyone or, stole it from else. But I don't know. And especially since we're dealing with a Christian nation, I'm pretty sure most people are going to be like, excuse me. And then, some people, they selfish. So it's like, you're going to sell it to them, but you can't sell it to your own people. And we in the works of decriminalizing it, or whatever they trying to do, because I'm not really too sure of that particular um, act they are trying to reform. But I would say, why not? Because we are planning on decriminalizing it, or whatever the case may be. So why not save it? And then when we do decriminalize it, at least there's going to be maybe like a government agency to look over it, to disperse it, to have some sort of management over it, where we would already have like marijuana available, and we don't have to wait for it to grow. We already have our own, so we don't have to source it elsewhere. So it's like we don't have to pay import fees and stuff like that. I mean, might as well just put it in the fridge and wait for it to be decriminalized.
No, but you definitely brought up some good points. I think it would cost a rift because people would be like, you could sell it to them, but I get locked for selling it, or you could give it away to them, but why not just keep it? And if y'all say y'all legalizing it anyway, then why y'all just can't hurry up legalize it and let the people do what they doing? So I think that's some good points that are brought up. But marijuana doesn't have to just be for recreational use. In ancient times, it was used for paper, it was used for fabric. It was like some of the strongest stuff out there. And I watched a documentary on it actually, and it was very interesting. A lot of things that we use today was once made from hemp. So it's not just like we just think of it as though people use it to get high or to have fun, but it has a lot of benefits. It's just that I can't remember which century it was, but it was basically criminalized and looked down on as a bad thing. And ever since then, we just looked down on it and we were like, okay, nobody used marijuana ever again. And I believe it's happened in the US during their time when they was going through all that drugs. I think it was the 80s or something. I don't remember. But basically, they were saying that marijuana would be like a gateway drug to other things and stuff like that. And basically, ever since then, everybody just ran with that idea. But that's not necessarily the case. Yeah, so it's just a lot. It's just a
Oh,
lot.
yeah. You
I,
had talk about how marijuana could benefit this and that. My mind went straight to, I wonder if we put marijuana inside our, what you call it, our roads, if it would last longer.
think I
I
saw
wonder.
something on that. I can't be quite sure,
Because
but
these roads get so holy so quick. It's like maybe we could try and use marijuana, since it's such a strong substance,
yeah.
to keep our roads together.
So another thing just happened today that I just saw that I found very interesting that affects our environment was the oil spill that happened in Exumer. 30,000 gallons of oil spilled between yesterday and this morning. This is according to the acting Prime Minister Chester Cooper. He said that sometime last night between 5 p.m. and 4 a.m., a vessel, the Arabian contractor for Sun Oil, was offloading fuel to BPL in the area of the old Navy base in Georgetown. And this morning it was confirmed that there was a significant spill to the tune of 30,000 gallons. And it said, we are advised at the moment that the oil is contained in the bay, the area of Exuma Sailing Club, and they've had efforts to clean it up. I think they had some floating buoys that would collect the oil, and there are people out there who are trying to clean it up. I don't know if you've seen pictures, but it is contained. But I mean, the fact that 30,000 gallons of oil spilled just like that into our ocean, Mike, that begs me the question now of what type of regulations and what type of standards we have for uploading oil and stuff. Because how is it that that happens so easily, just like that? Like,
Contingency plans.
yeah, what's the issue with that? I find that very interesting that a boat came in, was gonna offload oil to BPL, and just oops, we missed and spilled 300 well not 300 30,000 gallons
35,000
gallons
gallons.
of oil. Like,
I
how?
want to know who's paying for all of this cleaning up business, though.
That's very true. That's another good question.
Because I read the story and I'm like, okay, yes, it did spill. Now we ain't gonna cry over spoiled milk. We're gonna get the job done. But who's getting the job done? And who is going to pay for this? Will it be the container who was bringing it? Or Sun Oil? I think Sun Oil was the company So
Yeah, so
is the
now,
company going to pay for it, or is BPL going to pay for it? And BPL is partially, if not solely, the government. So is that coming out of the public's purse? I
yeah,
mean, I don't want to stress Honorable Jester Cooper out because he has been inside the front of the media for quite some time this week. But I need to know if I gotta put an extra couple of cents inside there to pay my part of the bill. That's important stuff because I don't even know how much something like that would cost.
yeah,
And this is when I heard about the story, I was like, okay, remember a few years ago, just recently, when they wanted to drill for oil. So I'm like, this gonna be this is gonna be kind of like a run or a display as to if they would have been prepared to clean up the oil if something would have happened during that period when they want to drill. Like, we're gonna need to see you put some work into your Lord, I always get so caught up. But action into these things that you want us to just be okay with. Although here we are going around the world claiming that, hey, being increasingly increasingly and extensively affected by climate change. So this is something that also impacts our climate. So we're going to need to see the government step up and do it really quickly, efficiently, and hopefully, you know, have some grace on the public purse. But they're gonna need to get that cleaned up. And of all places, Exuma. Exuma. Ex- Girl, you ever had Exumian people talk about their waters? Girl, they talk that bad about us in here now, so they talk that bad. But I don't blame them because Exuma water is very, very gorgeous. So I can't argue.
yeah. But the real question is who's paying for that? My like I told you, my biggest concern is how did this happen in the first place? Like, what is the procedure for offloading oil? How did you get? How did we get to this point? Right? Like you said, who's paying for this? And I feel like in other parts of the world, when stuff like this happens in their waters, well, places that value their waters, when something happens, there's like a fine. Why we don't have this type of stuff in place? These people not intentionally dump their oil, but I mean, fact of the matter is, whether you do something intentionally or not, if it's against the law, you're gonna get fined for it. So I feel like we need to implement something like that because we can't keep letting this happen because it's damaging our waters, our wildlife, marine life, our coral reefs, and all of that. So in the long run, we even if we didn't pay for the cleanup itself, in the long run, we're still paying for it because it's affecting our wildlife and our ocean. So I mean, our beaches.
That's very true. And you made a cogent point because other countries, if we want to present ourselves as more than a third world country, we're gonna need to put our best foot forward and have contingency plans for things like this. And this is just a lesson for us. Okay, maybe we should have had something set in place to kind of at least give the public a better stance on how this is going to be compensated, how it's going to be cleared up, how all of these things that may circle around in the minds of the Bahamians. So I feel as though if there's a fine that would have been paid if this had happened abroad, we should have fines here to, kind of supplement the cost of clearing these things up. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you ever saw oil spill inside water, but it's pretty hard to kind of clear that up. So, stuff like this is just a lesson for Bahamians and our government to kind of keep our heads up and make sure we cover these grounds so that in the case it happens again, we could be more prepared and equipped to deal with these matters and give the public a sure answer as to what's going to take place and what measures are going to be used. Because honestly, I'm pretty sure, and no offense to any reporter, but what was reported, most people would have been like, okay, yeah, we know it has to be cleaned. We know the oil spilled, but what's next? How is this going to be paid for? Stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff people need to know because we Bahamians, we like our money and we need to know where the money going. And that's one big thing that I'm pretty sure a lot of Bahamians was really distraught about in the previous government. There was no accountability. There was no transparency as to where money is going. What are we doing? Why is the prime minister traveling all over the world and we ain't really seeing nothing? All we hearing are reports as to what happened. And although Prime Minister Davis, he's doing a great job traveling around the world and kind of giving the plight of the Bahamians to the greater international stand platforms. When are we going to see the first dollar? Like, when are we going to see our returns for these trips? Let us know stuff like that. Just don't keep going on the trips because eventually we're going to think you just using our dollars to go on trips and to talk. You could talk over Zoom. You don't have to be spending all of this money. So I think setting certain procedures and plans in place, like you alluded to previously, would make for a better Bahamas and would make other countries know that, hey, we are serious about our climate, we are serious about accountability, and we are serious about the health of our Bahamian people because I've heard about oil spills that have ruined a lot of communities and people's lives. So, yeah, we're going to need some real answers.
Yes, definitely. Talking about answers, definitely. So I saw this article on The Guardian. I think it was published either today or yesterday, and it was talking about the state of PMH. And I don't know if you guys know what a theater is, but that's where you go to have surgeries in the hospital. And apparently, several of them are out of commission. The public hospital authority said that 3 wards remain closed because they need renovations, and only 3 out of 8 operating theaters are functioning, due in part to staffing challenges and the need for parts for critical equipment, which is being impacted by financial and supply chain challenges. In addition to that, 45 beds in the hospital are not available for use, and Male Medical 1 was removed from service due to water intrusion, which reduced the bed capacity by 16. And that happened in 2019, which is 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago. Male Surgical 2 was removed in service in 2018, also due to water intrusion, and which reduced the bed capacity by 14. And the I ward was removed from service this year due to structural concerns with the flooring. And this was also reduced by 15 beds. So I feel as though health in our country, well, healthcare in our country is always a problem. But after seeing that big like new part of the hospital go up, I thought like I don't want to say not to say that I thought the problems would have been fixed, but I don't know. I just felt like we still wouldn't be having as much issues as we do today. But I don't know. I feel like we still in the same boat. Like, yeah, they put up that nice, pretty like wing or whatever. But I feel like we still having a lot of issues with that healthcare system, and I just feel like maybe we should build a new hospital or at least have like some wards at a different location or something. Because the same weekend, because for a ward to be out of commission for 3 whole years, I think that's kind of ridiculous. And especially during like COVID, how we was running out of beds and stuff, like it's obvious that our healthcare was, well, even before that, was strained. So like the real question is like, what is our plan to fix that? How do we fix that? Yeah.
Girl, Shanae, you asking a question probably our great great grandparents was asking the government during that time. Because I'm sure I read some article a few years back. And when I say a few years back, I mean like 30 plus years back, when the hospital was promised a lump sum of money to be restored. And I mean, yes, they have made some progress, but uh-uh, uh-uh. Ain't no way on planet Earth we supposed to still be going through this. Like, no way. And I feel as though, in my opinion, during the election, when they go to promote their initiatives, what they want for the country and all of this stuff, I feel as though it should have been these people's jobs to start sourcing out quotes and everything needed to start to make a change the minute they got in office. And a lot of things, well, let me not say a lot of things, but the PLP government, I won't I won't say they haven't done anything, because they have made a lot of good changes in the country. But I feel as though when it comes to the critical parts of the country, healthcare should have always been something that every government, even if each government did piece by piece, it would have been better. But they come in office and totally neglect that hospital. And it's not like we have what 30 islands that are inhabited. It's not like all islands have clinics and hospitals. No, basically mainly 2 islands, 2 out of 30 have, I can't even say proper clinical care or proper hospital or proper healthcare, none of that. But we just have 2 main hospitals. Well, I lie, because we have PMH and doctors, but we have 2 main hospitals. People from Long Island, these crashes that happen, God rest those boys' souls. How many car accidents have happened? They have to be transported to the main hospitals in the capital. How long does that take? How many lives from the hospital should have been awarded those funds back in the day? How many lives have been lost? How many lives have endured pains and sufferings and lasting 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 things that, like, maybe they wouldn't have now, like limps or whatever, if they had proper care on their island. So it's not like we have 30 hospitals on each island, so the government have to stress themselves out for each island. No, there's basically only two, and they still can't get the job done. That is ridiculous. That should be embarrassing, like embarrassing. And just like you, when I saw that new wing was put up, I was like, oh shoot, well, look at us doing things, we getting somewhere. And while we are getting somewhere, we should do more as a country. Put aside the government, as a country, we should be scared for our lives, because if we are having a shortage of beds, and during the first part of COVID, we were literally out of beds to help our own people. We couldn't help our own people. When we gonna come and join together as a country and tell the government, okay, it's time y'all start focusing on healthcare. How much people in this country don't even have healthcare? And that's very important. Very important. And healthcare is one of the most expensive things. You go to certain hospitals, I ain't gonna call no names, but you probably paying more than you would pay for a hotel for a week in the States. It's expensive. Yet we have no healthcare plans. Well, actually, I lie. We have NHI. And NHI, they're doing their thing. But we could do more for our people, especially with the taxes we have to pay already. Like, come on. Come on.
Yeah, like it's crazy. Like you said, we have 2 major hospitals. I think, yeah, because we have the RAND and then we have PMH. But doctors is obviously private, but we're talking about in terms of public healthcare, free healthcare that's open to everyone. It's crazy how little doctors and nurses in the public fields have to work with. And like Bethany said, this has been a problem going on for decades and decades. And it's just like, what can we do as a people that can get rid of this problem? And like Bethany said, I feel like a lot of governments have put it at the back burner because I guess economics and getting people jobs and stuff is important, but I feel healthcare is just as important because if you can't keep the people alive, how you can keep them, how you can get to give them jobs? Like we have to keep our people healthy. Like we have a high rate of obesity, we have a high rate of cholesterol and diabetes, all of these things that are plaguing our country, and it's just like people with these diseases and even people with issues with their kidneys that have to get dialysis certain like they don't have access to healthcare. Because I remember a couple months ago, I think it was, we did a episode on kidney health, and we talked to a lady that was on dialysis and had been on like dialysis for I think a year or two. She was on it for a while, and she was basically talking about her struggles. Now she'd have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning just to go sit on the machine, and it was like a certain amount of spots that you could go. Like it was just a whole lot, and she was paying for it privately because she had insurance. So I can't imagine the struggle that people who don't have insurance and have to go through the public route have to go through. So it's just like I feel like we have to care more about our health, and maybe when election time comes around again, or if you have the opportunity to talk with MPs, just stress how important it is, not just for economics and jobs, but also for healthcare, because we have to stay long enough to enjoy life, eh? So it's my thought on it.
So I'm pretty sure, like I just alluded to earlier, Honorable Chester Cooper, he has literally been in the headlines for a minute this week. And first it wasn't first. So first we spoke about the oil spill. And y'all, I don't know about y'all, but when I heard about the quote unquote, what was it? The sick out that the people did at the airport, I was like, I don't know whether to be for them or against them, because as a whole, we literally suffered as a country somewhat. But when I look at the individual plight of these workers, I'm like, I understand. Like, especially, I think they, according to The Guardian, they've been in conversations with the government for some time, and it's been like a couple $1 million in back pay. And I'm like, we have just come from out of pandemic. A lot of people just got on their feet with jobs and stuff like that. So money is critical. Money has always been critical, but the pandemic made sure we remembered that, hey, money is very necessary, and however we could get it, and especially since they are trying to get monies for their families in a legal manner. So why pretend like these people haven't done their part of the contract in providing a service? Why can't we pay them? And according to The Guardian, it's been $9.6 million in back pay and in industrial agreements between the Bahamas Airport Authority and the Bahamas Public Services Union, which represents about 400 people. So I don't know. I I want to be a matriarch of my country. I want to, stand with my people in hard times. But when it's literally your people against your people, it is so hard to pick a side. But I don't know. I don't know. Do you have a side in this story, Shanae?
I wouldn't say I have a side, but I'll give my opinion because I find it very outrageous that people like the working class, like you and I, have to fight to be paid what is owed to them. I find it absolutely disgusting, in my opinion, because these people who work in the government or who work in these high up, whatever authority and whatever board they on, they making dollars, okay? The average person is probably making, well, the average person that they're referring to is probably making between $20,000 to $30,000 per year, and you owe them 400 persons, you said over $9 million, I think. And you pay these people their money because y'all driving around in y'all Audi and y'all Mercedes and y'all night post and y'all trying to private school, but y'all holding up on these people's money. Like, just why? And then y'all like to say, oh, the strike is illegal, blah, blah, blah. But if, let me tell you something, if I had back pay and someone was holding up on my back pay, I was gonna run hot. I got the stingest attitude around town. And I would have won a strike too, regardless of if it goes against their industrial agreement or not. We have seen over and over again, the government will go years, quite literally years, without paying your money. Look, they just did it to the doctors because they did it to the doctors because they knew that they weren't going to strike. And after I think 4 or 5 years, they finally decided to strike. And then what the Bahamian people did, they turned on them because they're saying, oh, the junior doctors ain't supposed to do this, blah, 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 blah. They used to back of the hospital. Yes, they are the back of the hospital, but the government was taking advantage of them and they didn't pay them their money for years. So my thing is people normally use strike as a last sort of a last resort. It's our constitutional right to do it. And as a legal, as they once say it is, if it was me and I was in their shoes, I would do the same thing because it's money that they're owed, it's their money. So my advice is y'all pay them their money. However, y'all want to do it, figure it out as fast as y'all can, do it. Okay? Because tourism is an money industry, and if the airport shut down, y'all ain't gonna make no money. So pay the people their money. The same thing how they wasn't paying the doctors and the nurses, pay the people their money. Okay? They just want to mess around with the backbone of our country. You can't do that. I feel like if anything, they're the people supposed to keep happy. Because if not, if they shut everything down, then the country shut down. I mean, let's be honest. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Because I never understand why we have these issues in the first place. How hard it is to follow an industrial agreement and pay people with their own. It's not that hard. It's not that difficult.
I don't know. I don't know if Bahamians know how much power they wield, but I only could think about the 1958 general strike when I heard about this quote unquote illegal sick strike. I was like, these people are really pulling a 1958 strike. And during that strike, those taxi cab folk who stood up for their rights, they sure did eventually get what they wanted. So if the union at the airport, if that's what they do, that's what they do, because it seems like that's the only way you're heard. And it's ridiculous. Like, and then to compound things, they highlighted how a lot of the workers sent in sick slips, and so that only circles right back around to the healthcare, because now these are the same people who y'all aren't paying. And I'm not, this is alleging now because I feel like they are setting they're saying stuff without saying stuff. For instance, it was said, we have a significant level of sick slips that have been signed by local physicians for employees who have not yet returned. And they're hoping that this will end in short order. We are in ongoing dialogue with the president, blah, 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 blah. But when I read the words coming from this particular issue, I'm like, are y'all saying that the doctors aren't honest with what they're doing? And if so, I wonder why they would do something like this. Probably because we don't pay them their dues. We don't value them. We don't pay them the amount they're supposed to be paid. That is why a lot of doctors have been poached by other countries who see the value in the healthcare system, and now they're making bucks. So if you really want to make the situation better, I mean, they'll have to do a lot of back work to make the situation better, but at least start. Pay a couple people. I mean, it's really their money they paying themselves with, because it's the public's purse. It's every person who is buying anything that has VAT, 10% VAT attached to it. Any bill, that is their money. That is our money. Why can't you pay us with the money we are providing you with to pay these group of civilians? I don't understand. This is this is this carries us back to where's the money going? Who is going to pay for that oil spill? We need to know these things because obviously the people who work in certain jobs, they ain't getting paid. So where's the public's money going? And hopefully their answer isn't to trips. So we could kind of finesse or get sympathy or empathy from other countries to donate to us. I don't understand it. I mean, I hope it works. But for right now, our own, we need to eat. We need to take care of our families. We need to feel like we have some purpose on this rock. You can't tell us to stay here and to build a better Bahamas and always, have this tourism attitude where we accept. And while I love our tourists, like I really do love talking to people, as you can see, I could talk you to death, but we need to feel that appreciation back from our government. And I don't think that's happening, which is why a lot of these things are occurring and occurring very, very not simultaneously, but it was almost simultaneously because the doctors' strike was just maybe last year. So the government, this is a sign to the government to shape up and to pay these people their dues, because it ain't like they sitting somewhere doing nothing and being lazy. They're doing the job, and you could tell they're doing their job because the repercussions of them not doing their jobs almost had us in a whole loop. So be our leader. I would feel so good to hear one of the MPs say, you know what, I'm gonna take a cut, and like for instance, Chester Cooper, he says, I'm gonna take a cut, I'm gonna take a salary cut, and I'm gonna help, several people in my community because I know these people struggling and I ain't struggling. Some sort of initiative like that. That would, I think it would shock us all, because there has been no government to show that kind of care and compassion. I'm talking about as a group, none has ever shown that kind of compassion and care for this Bahamas. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
But I had another story that I want to talk about that I thought was, well, actually two more, but this one I'll talk about first. So Chef Hall, I don't know if y'all know what it is, but he's chef, and his last name was Hall. He partners with Hands for Hunger to feed more than 100 kids. In the Bahamas, 1 in every 3 people face some level of food insecurity. So Chef Simeon Hall Jr. joined in the fight by partnering with Hands with Hunger and Elijah's Hilltop Camp to feed the Kempro community kids, along with children from the Yellow Elders Summer Camp via a pop-up soup kitchen. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I thought that was something great, fighting hunger in our little country, because I feel like oftentimes we focus on tragedies elsewhere and we don't realize that even in our country there are people who are struggling and who are battling poverty and not having access to food and even water in their homes. So I thought that was something really good to share. And I guess to leave on a positive note, I don't know if you guys know of the essay, well, not the essay, but the research competition that I think it's the central bank holds every year. Hold on, yes, the central bank hosts this research competition. I saw it last year and I was interested in applying, but I didn't. So basically they have a topic and they want you to write, I think it is a 20-page paper on this topic, and the reward is $20,000, which is which seems crazy, but a young lady won. Her name is Abigail Knowles, and her paper was on fiscal first aid, returning to a sustainable debt trajectory. And there was an honorable mention award of $5,000 awarded to Mark Anthony Rule for his paper on the case study and examination of the impact of COVID-19 pandemic had on marketing strategies of retail businesses in downtown Bahamas. So basically, the panel of people who judge these essays and these competitions looking for academic writing that is of college level, that has some relevance to the economy, banking, finance, stuff of that sort. And obviously that pertains to the topic that they chose for that year. And these two people, well, one won and then one was, I guess, runner up. So I thought it would be good to highlight, Bohemian excellence. I think we had a pretty insightful conversation. Thank you for coming and listening to us. You can follow us on Candid 242 on Facebook and on Instagram. So yeah, keep it real, Bahamas.